I'm a Coolie.
What's good? It's Mike, one half of Kooliehouse, sitting here with LJ, the author of Waiting Face. What's good, my brother? How you doing?
Thank you for having me.
All right, now, so we're going to carry the book Waiting Face here in our store at the Kooliehouse, but we got the author here, so I would love to know what this book is about. I haven't had the opportunity to check it out, but I absolutely will. But what is the book about, Waiting Face?
It's basically about a young man named Michael Weathers. He's trying to survive his first 7 days in a restaurant. And through this journey, you find the underlying issues to his substance abuse, his depression, his anxiety, and they all kind of come heightened through the blatant racism that he faces, certain ailments of just not knowing who he actually is and where he fits in to the society, not only in the outside world, but also in the workplace.
Cool. So is this something that you wrote? So I think you told us that the book was fictional.
Yes.
But are you drawing off of real life experience to write this novel?
Of course. I think every creative manifestation comes through some type of personal or impersonal experience. You know, I feel like that's the most genuine it can be. You know, it doesn't just come out of nowhere.
Right. So when did you begin like your creative journey? Like when did you start writing books, or maybe it was art or something else? When did you begin this creative journey that you're on?
Well, I've been writing since I was 10 years old, and it started off as something as I would do. I grew up as a ward of the state, so I'd be in these foster homes with nothing to do, you know, stuck in somebody's basement, and I would just sit there and I would just start writing. And you know, obviously it wasn't as honed as obviously a 100,000 word book, but it was just something to pass the time, and it was just something that kept me acclimated to just being free and being not in a place that, you know, maybe I wasn't wanted or maybe I didn't want to be in. So I wrote stories, and then I knew at some point in early adolescence that I wanted to be a writer.
Nice. So do you have any other books besides Waiting Face? Or
No, this is the first one. I'm
Right.
actually working on my second book right now.
Awesome.
Halfway through the first draft. And I think off the fact of the success of this one, there should be a high bid on that one.
So as an author, and particularly a black author, how hard is it to get the exposure or try to get, you know, to get seen in certain spots?
Well, I feel like it's extremely hard if you don't come from money.
Mm-hmm.
And generally there was nobody in my corner to like help me. So when you're initially writing the book, people look at it kind of as, you know, a nuance or something that's just, you know, all air and feathers, and you really have to kind of stick to what you know and what you believe in to actually force it out. Now when the book actually came out, before the book came out, there was a promotional period. So, you know, I'm promoting it by myself. You know, people are seeing it in my story or my timeline, and that kind of gravitated people towards that, you know, wanting it, having the exposure. You've seen my Instagram, you've seen people holding it up. So then once they actually see you with the book in your hand, it's kind of like, oh wow, I want to see what that's about, even if they may never read it. But the fact that like they have it, they took a picture with it, the exposure is there. So you have to be really creative when you have little to no capital to get started.
Absolutely. So you think that resources was a big obstacle for you? That was something that you wish you had? You wish you had someone to kind of lead you in the right direction or help you out?
Yeah, I did. But then in the same time, I think when all the dust settled, I'm glad that I didn't, because I learned more in the process.
Absolutely.
And I learned more about formatting. I learned more about self-promotion. I learned more about pre-sales and just publishing as a whole. To whereas, you know, moving on into my second book, I'll be, you know, twice as successful as, you know, as the first go around, because, you know, I have all that prior knowledge that I went through with this book. And mind you, it was a lonely road. A lot of it was, you know, grueling. A lot of it was, you know, kind of, you know, I'm on the brink of giving up. You know, I'm not sleeping. I'm sleeping for barely 4 hours. You know, I'm waking up, I'm going to write. And then once the pandemic happened, I was put in this position to really get this book out and submit it to my publisher, and then go through all the working, you know, issues and things like that, the edits and everything, and final reviews, the ebook. And knowing this knowledge, it's kind of like being thrown in a pool,
Right.
like thrown in the deep end, like like your dad, and then you have to learn how to swim,
Right.
or you're going to drown, and I kind of feel like that's the equivalent of the process for writing for me and what happened.
So, in here at Kooliehouse, what we're trying to create is like a cooperative community, so that people don't have to experience what you experience, so that no one feels like they're alone on this journey of like figuring it all out on their own. And we're gonna have more authors come through here and new authors come through here, and I'm sure you could be an amazing resource for them.
Oh, yeah.
So they don't make the same maybe missteps you may have made.
Exactly.
But I think that in this environment that we're trying to create, we're gonna address that lack of resources thing, and I think it's gonna be advantageous for like lots of writers and things like that moving forward. So my only other question to you would be, what type of goals or sales goals or author goals do you have for yourself or your life?
Okay. Going back to like my humble beginnings, being in the foster home and stuff like that, I think the only vain part of me, that you'll ever get out of me is through writing.
Right.
And my favorite author, the reason why I write today, was James Baldwin. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe not even, I can't even say, kind of fabricate the words that he would say, but if he was alive, I'd tell him to have a seat. Mm-hmm. And
have a seat.
I tell him to have a seat. I tell him that there's a new sheriff in town, and I will pick up where he left off.
I love it.
And the thing about with writing is that is the one thing I could say in my life, that you put me and another writer in the same room, you say, all right, the goal is 5,000 words. I'm smoking. I'm putting them in a body bag.
Okay.
And that's where I feel like where my goals are. I mean, it may not come initially with this first book, but the exposure, I'm blessed beyond measure to have it. But when it comes to my career, my overall goals, aside from book sales, ebook sales and stuff, I want to be considered one of the greatest American writers ever.
Awesome. And we're so glad that you're here, and we want to do amazing things with this book, and we want to put together all types of events and stuff like that. So we're going to keep moving, keep working, and we're going to grow this thing huge.
Whatever I can do to help, I'm beyond blessed to even be here, to be sitting here with you. I mean, it's an honor. I can't even fathom the words to say how appreciative I am, and
likewise, brother. We that's the idea. We want to all work together. We're all going to lift each other together, and that's the idea. Nobody's above anybody. We're going to share resources. We're going to share information.
Oh yeah, we share all that.
You know what I mean?
But if they want my spot, they got to take a seat.
Yeah.
I got to keep that.
Last but not least, just let them know where you can find you at, where you can find the book at, order it, whatever.
Okay, sure. You can find me Amazon first, where you can purchase the book. It's right here, Waiting Face, LJ Peltrop. It's literally it'll come right up. You can find me on Instagram at The Playwriter, all one word, no caps, no space, no funny stuff. So that's Instagram at The Playwriter, and then you can find me on Facebook at LJ Peltrop. And that's about it.
Out there, stand up, CT, stand out.
Thank you,
Beat mechanics.
Thank you.
You gotta make them regret not fucking with you. Yeah. Got the city on the wave now. It's time to take over the stage now.